Welcome to the Panic Room, where we talk about all things panic-inducing. I am the Queen of Panic. Warning, some episodes may contain content that may be disturbing to others. Viewer discretion is advised. Now let the games begin.
Okay, so this happened a few years ago now, but I still have no logical explanation for what happened. I sold a pair of pants on Depop, black and white pinstripes, and a drawstring waist. After shipping the item out, I received a message from a different buyer, claiming to have received these pants instead of the item that they ordered. I apologized and told the buyer I would sort this out. This buyer had purchased a vest top. I assumed I must have accidentally switched the parcels, so the person who bought the pants would have received the vest top. I was about to message them to ask if they'd received a top instead, when they left a review. They gave 5 stars and were happy with the pants that they received. I was so confused. The pants were a much more expensive item than the top, so they definitely wouldn't pretend they received them to keep the incorrect item. I messaged the first buyer, asking the brand and sizing on the item. It was definitely them. I didn't have anything similar. They both received this item, and the top seemed to essentially disappear. All of this was very strange and gave me a super unsettled feeling. So imagine how I felt walking into my bedroom and finding the same pair of pants in my room. I did not have more than one of this item. I cannot explain what happened here. I still now try to think of a rational explanation, but I am certain this was a glitch. A few days ago, I was dressing myself after a shower, and my boyfriend was asking me if he could enter the bathroom to start to shower too. I said yes, but he didn't open the door. I thought that he didn't hear me or my answer, but I didn't repeat. I continued to prepare for myself. In my bathroom, we have a sink with a mirror right above the sink, and this mirror is in front of the door. So I was in front of the mirror when I saw my boyfriend opening the door, look at me through the mirror, and asking again if he could enter, now with a pitch in his voice, trying to be annoying. I made my voice pitched too and said out loud, "Of course, just enter for God's sake." But in the next second, the door was closed again, and my boyfriend, who I swear I saw, was opening the door in the mirror, knocked on the door and answered, "You have to unlock the door first." After that, I realized that I had the bathroom door locked the whole time, so he couldn't enter anyways. So what did I see in the mirror? It was daytime around 3 p.m., sunny and clear skies that day. As a frequent passenger, I look out the window and up at the sky very often. And on this day, they were driving and I was scrolling on my phone, and occasionally sky watching. I noticed a plane, too small to see what exact airline, but it had a dark blue detailing, so maybe Delta or American, flying across the sky as I usually see any other time, and then shifted my eyes to continue looking down at my phone. The way this happened so fast is unexplainable. In the very same second I began to shift my eyes from the plane back down to my phone, it literally blinked out of the sky mid-flight. Literally before my eyes fully landed back on my phone, I could still see it in my peripheral, and I saw it just disappear, as if I blinked, but I hadn't. I didn't even fully register what happened until my friend got frantic. She almost fully braked the car in the middle of the street. We were in a residential neighborhood area, not on a highway, so we weren't going above 40 miles per hour, to ask me if I had also just seen that. I didn't know how she had been also occasionally watching the plane go by, so I began looking around, and the sky was completely clear. I even completely stuck my head out the window to verify that we had just seen the plane disappear, and it was nowhere to be found. This was such a quick, simple glitch, like clicking refresh on a web page for the plane. It just blinked. I don't think I'll ever forget this. It was too wild. I look at the sky way too often to mistake this for a bird or a bug, and having a witness further solidified this. This happened about 5 years ago. My stepdaughter was about 6 or 7 years of age. And although it did perplex me, I let it go because I didn't really believe it. There had to have been a logical explanation, i.e., flawed recollection of events. But I was 100% sure from my perspective that I was not wrong. Very simple, small moment. One evening, I tell my daughter to go take out the trash can at the end of the property because the next day it would be collected. At this time, she had gotten her first iPhone and would pay attention to it more than her chores or tasks. So in the process, I see her walk to the trash can, grab it with one hand, and with her other hand she pulls out her phone from her back pocket. She then starts making her way down the lawn towards the street, looking at her screen and struggling to maneuver the can properly at the same time. I can see her face illuminated by it, so I can tell she's not really paying attention to what she's doing. As she reaches the curb, naturally, she has to allow it to roll off the curb onto the street pavement and place it to where the trash truck can reach it. At this point, still focusing more on her phone, the trash can rolls off unevenly, tips over, and falls. Immediately, I think to myself to tell her something about the fact that she would have a much easier time if she'd only focus, and that she would definitely survive a moment without her phone. She puts the phone away and picks the trash can back up. When she gets to the back door, I begin telling her about this, and as I am bothered by it, her mother interrupts and starts defending her. I told her about the fact that this was caused by her literally looking at her phone screen the whole time, while lazily dragging the can in the other hand. Her mother looks at me and, upset now, says, "She doesn't even have her phone, what are you talking about?" My stepdaughter shows me that she didn't have it, then goes to get it from her room. But how? Of course she did. I could prove it. We have a front door camera. In our argument, I open up the app and play the moment in full screen. In the video, she walks out the door, and you could see the back pockets have nothing. She grabs the trash can and walks out of view. I clearly remember most of her face illuminated as she walked with her phone in hand, and yet she never had it. I had already read posts from this sub before. I just took them lightly as entertaining anecdotes. But still, they felt foreign to reality. But that one moment mind-fucked me. I don't see how I could have so drastically seen something so different from what evidence showed transpired. And yet, it did. So, I was 17 and stayed a few days at my best friend's house, while not having had to work in a few days. My home life was rough, and in the opposite direction of my workplace, so rather than go to my mom's house and risk whatever that would entail, I opted to stop by Ross to buy work clothes. I was a hostess at a nice-ish restaurant, but I didn't need anything fancy. A button-up shirt and some slacks. I pulled the debit card from my wallet to pay, put the wallet back in my bag, and headed to work. I hadn't eaten, and I usually grab a soup and salad from work if I had time to do so. But when I reached into my bag, I couldn't find my wallet that I'd just used all of 20 minutes before this point in time. Just after, I got a call from an old friend who'd moved away maybe 6 months to a year prior. He told me he found my wallet in the parking lot of his apartment complex, nearly an hour away. I met him up after work, halfway between the cities we lived in, to get my wallet. It still had all of my cards, cash, and ID in it, but it had been folded entirely in half so that all of the cards were useless, and I had to have it all, including ID, replaced. It was dirty and torn, obviously ran over, But how did it travel 50 miles in 25 minutes? With time to have been lost and found in a random parking lot of a small town apartment complex I had never been to. That a friend, coincidentally and thankfully a close friend, happened to live in. No one else from that town would have been able to find that ID and have my phone number on hand in order to call me so quickly. This was in the time of flip phones. They couldn't just find me online. We still talk from time to time about this glitch in the Matrix, so I was excited to have found you all. I, male 42, am relatively successful, though not as successful as I should be, or as big of a failure as I deserve. I have a great wife, female 34, and 2 wonderful children, 3 and 5. I went to bed last night a near perfectly happy man. For reference, I had a girlfriend from the age of 17 to 21 that I remained very close friends with until I met my wife 10 years ago. Her and I both decided a close friendship wasn't possible, mostly due to the fact that we were hit or miss on rekindling our friendship for a decade. What I can only account for as a dream completely consumed my day. The only reason I say this is because I remember going to bed in the same house I woke up in with my wife this morning. I was at a gathering with my wife and children, and my old girlfriend was there with her now husband. I got up to get a drink, and she approached me asking me to go to the back room and enter a closet. She was insistent on me accompanying her. I went inside, and this is where it was dreamy. It was almost third person, omniscient. I remember standing in her parents' driveway, discussing our breakup because she was going to another city for college. But it was like a do-over. We watched our conversation, and this time I agreed to move with her. I stepped into my own body 21 years ago and got in my truck and drove home. And from that moment, I relived my life as though I had moved with her. I looked in the mirror and I was 21 again. She was there narrating the whole thing. She graduated while I worked, and then I went to college while she worked, and then we got married. We were there at our wedding, celebrating at our reception. I remembered our honeymoon in Mexico. It seemed to move fast, but we had a son, then a daughter, went on vacations. We were in love and happy. I had a career completely different than the one I have now. We had an incredibly nice home, friends. I had memories of my new friends that was enjoying the different life. We would lay in bed at night and I'd ask about my current wife and the life her and I had on the other side, and she could take me and show me, very vivid. I kept thinking, this is a dream, I have to wake up. She insisted it was not a dream, and I didn't have the usual dream like physical characteristics. I don't believe it was real and insisted we go to my parents' house to confront them and leave this dream. They looked so happy. In my real life, they got divorced 18 years ago. My formerly incredibly successful brother was living at home. He was a pothead that had no motivation to better himself. I started to remember that about him. It was as if all my real-life memories were disappearing, and this was my reality. I kept telling her I didn't want to believe it. We drove to the house I live in now that I just built and moved into 15 months ago. It was a vacant lot. We drove by the facility I work at, and I recognized it, but I didn't work there. I couldn't even tell you what I did there. This was becoming very confusing. I thought, I'm going to wake up any minute, but I never did. I lived with this girl. We had a son and then a daughter. I could see their faces. I can hear their voices. We watched them grow. The son was in baseball, the daughter was in gymnastics. We had pool parties, went on vacations. I'd ask about my other wife, and she told me I needed to take my medication again. I talked to the doctor, and this life I remembered was just a figment of my imagination. All of a sudden, I was forgetting about my real life. Years had passed. I couldn't decide what was real and what wasn't. She wasn't narrating our life anymore. It was just my life. I would take the kids to school, to practices, come home to my wife who I loved. I kept thinking it had been too long to be a dream. I went back to the doctor and told him what I remembered, and he chalked it up to me being schizophrenic. We struggled through that for years. I had to quit drinking to stop the memories. It was so hard to function some days. I knew I had a family somewhere. My work struggled. I spent all of my time trying to find my other wife. Then I found her on Facebook. She lived 1,500 miles away. I flew out to see her. I went to her house. She was overweight and depressed. I tried telling her I knew her. I was arrested, and after posting bail, I flew back home. My wife was so supportive. I began to realize this life was real, and I had imagined the other life. We watched Shutter Island, and I was just another nut job that had made it through life somehow. Once I accepted this, I was fine. I didn't have any more problems. My other wife dropped charges, and I was back at work without issues. Years later, I have just retired. I'm recounting the days 20 years ago when I thought I had another life. My wife tells me I can. All I have to do is go into our closet. I was confused. She proceeds to tell me that she had gone into the closet we went into at the gathering. I used to remember, and I can go back. I felt so confused. I asked her, "Did you know this whole time and you did this to me?" She told me she too remembered the gathering. She had gone into the closet and lived her life as though we never split. She said she made it until I died at the age of 93. She came back and got me. Now I'm losing my mind. I'm old. Have lived nearly 50 years with this woman. I don't really even remember my old life. I remember my original kids' names, but not even what they look like. She tells me we can go back, but if I want, we never have to return to the closet, and we can live the life we have together. I got up and walked to the closet, walked inside, and walked back out into the gathering from the beginning, as if I'd never left. My original wife was there. We left and came home with our kids. We went to bed, and I didn't say a word about what had happened. This morning it was surreal driving to work. I felt like I was driving to the wrong place. It took me until 8 a.m. sitting at my desk to accept this reality. I remember so many vivid details. I don't know what life I'm in. I am happy. I have my now wife and my now life. Kinda wish I had the other life's bank account, but I feel like I've lived twice. I don't want to go back to be with the girlfriend, but I do want to know what happened to everyone I knew for so many years. Like 99% of my life has been returned, but the 1% that is different is there. I remember 2 parts. My wife listened and gave me a big hug and told me she's glad I chose her. But did I? I think I did. I felt so much more wiser at work today, so much more mature, like I had lived before and got to do it all over again, and I have much more confidence in my decisions. I can't find any loopholes in my memory other than I don't remember who won World Series or Super Bowls in the other life. Nothing that stands out that was a figment of my imagination. There were many more details I remember that I told my wife, but they don't relate to the story enough to type out. I had this one experience I can't explain. Again, something seen that wasn't there. 4 years ago, my then boyfriend and I moved into a new village. We got a job together cleaning holiday homes. One of the houses was located 10 minutes out of the village and was the furthest we had been in that direction of our new village so far. The drive to get there was 10 minutes on the same road as our house, then one turn off onto the street of the house we worked at. To be clear, we had never driven past this turnoff, always turned into it. Worked then, retired home. One day on the way home from this house, my boyfriend was driving, and from the passenger seat I saw the sign and driveway to an antique center. I noticed it and thought nothing more. That weekend, I suggested we go there for the afternoon as we both enjoyed browsing those types of places. So we set off on the road towards work. I didn't bother with the GPS as it was somewhere on the same road as our house, but before the turn off to work, we drove up and down the road several times and could not find the sign or driveway. Confused, we pulled over, and I Googled a place I had seen the sign for. It existed, but another 20 minutes up the road, past the turnoff for work in another village we had never been to. We drove there, and sure enough, it was the exact same sign and driveway I had seen 2 days previous on our way home from work, which was obviously impossible as this place is not on our way home from work. The whole thing confused me and then continues to perplex me to this day. I still don't understand how I saw a sign for a place I have never been. I described the color, shape, and lettering style of the sign we were looking for in exact detail before I looked for it online, but I don't know how or why I saw it. Okay, this was 25 years ago, but still baffles me today. I woke up for work at 20 years old like I did every morning at 7 a.m., but something felt off. Everything I did that morning felt like I was in slow motion, or time was speeding faster. I did all the normal things, had breakfast, shower, etc., but it seemed to take so long. I looked at the time and thought, how has so much time passed already? I knew I was going to be late if I didn't hurry, so I left the house in a rush, but even running out the door felt like I was in slow motion. I literally ran to the train station, but it felt like I was getting nowhere fast. I can't explain it fully, but I was at my normal regular speed, but everything around me seemed to be moving at a different rate, even when walking. It was like everything around me was going a little bit faster. The winds, the cars, the birds, the people, it all seemed to be going faster than normal. I made it to the station and ran to my platform just to see my train leave. I missed it by seconds. I thought, okay, well, there has to be another train in 15 minutes. I'll be a little late, but not too bad. 30 minutes passed, and I asked the rail worker what was happening. He said he was confused, as I was, because the next train should have been, and he couldn't reach anyone at the next station. A few minutes later, he was able to reach someone, and he looked like he was going to pass out. He made an announcement over the speaker that the train had derailed in a tunnel. I said to him that that was the train I missed earlier, and he said, yes, you're lucky you missed it. So they arranged buses to take us to our destination, and I heard on the news that night the grim details. Nobody had been seriously hurt because the compartment that was the worst affected was empty. They found it odd that no passengers were in that compartment. That compartment was the center of the derailment. Had there been someone in there, they'd be seriously injured or dead. They showed images of it, and I freaked out. I am a person of habit, and I like to sit in the same area every day. I sat in that compartment every day, the same compartment that was the worst affected. One lady in the compartment next to it had a broken arm, but the media was saying how lucky it was that nobody was in that other one. I would have been in the other one. Had I not missed the train, I might not be here today. That day was so weird, and I've never forgotten it. How I was rushing so fast that morning, but no matter how fast I went, time sped faster. And I almost caught up to it by missed mere seconds. I know people might say, oh, it's the morning, you were tired, but it wasn't that. The moment I got up, something felt really off, and that feeling only ever left after I found out about the train. After the train derailed, it was like the time went back to normal, and I never missed the train again. The only day I missed the train was the day it derailed. I feel like something saved my life, and for some reason, I was meant to be here. If you would like to submit your stories, please check out the Panic Within subreddit. I go over those stories that are submitted and I go ahead and I narrate them. I say go over, but I narrate all of them. So if you are interested in something like that, go ahead and take a look in the description and you'll find the link there. We also have a Discord. You can come and hang out and get spooky with me and other narrators. We post new content, up and coming videos, promotions, and we also just hang out and chat, and you can come and hang out with us there. If you're interested in that, link is also in the description below. And last but not least, if you are interested in doing a collab with the King of Panic or myself, you can absolutely reach out. If you're another creator, you can do one on our channel, we can do one with you. We are completely open for collab as of right now. Looking for new stuff to do and very excited for anybody who reaches out. The best way to do that is through Twitter or Discord. I do check Instagram and I will get back. It just might take a little longer because I'm super bad at that, but I've been trying to be better. So if you do reach out there, even if it takes a couple days, I'll be there. But like I said, we're excited. So please definitely reach out and we're looking forward to it. And as always, thank you for visiting the Panic Room. You have successfully made it to the next portion of your tour. Please stay tuned for your next prompt. Click the like button and subscribe to receive notifications for when the next portion of your tour is ready to join. Thank you for watching. Don't let the panic drown you.